Hello there, welcome to Genesis Models. My name is Bobby Waldron and we've got another inbox review for you today. This is going to be Tamiya's, the Heinkel HE216 A-7 UHU. This is in 1/48 scale, and do you know what? It's another one of these kits that were done in the 1990s. It's pretty damn old. This one in particular was new tooled in 1997, right? But it's still got what it takes, and it's still got a lot of good detail on there, and should build into a really nice model. Now this kit is around about RRP at $39.99. It is available on the Genesis Model store at $35.99. But diving into this kit just here, well, first off, something a little bit interesting just here. What we have is sort of like it's not the actual cockpit tub itself, but it's kind of like some big heavy bit of metal, probably to stop it being some hefty sort of tail sitter. Saves you from putting all that kind of like sort of lead in the aircraft to stop it tail sitting. No real detail. You build everything around this, but kind of quite interesting in that. And let's just move along with our first sprue. We have the fuselage section on here, so I'll just bring you right in, and hopefully already you can see that we have, you know, this lovely nice recessed panel lines, nice recessed rivets, right? Hopefully, as you can see there, well detailed. You know, really is kind of almost ahead of its time from 1997. If we sort of look around the wraparound where it goes down the 90-degree angle, you know, the detail's still there. We don't lose it like you do with some manufacturers, both at the top and the bottom. One thing to note, I mean, it's not a bad thing on the kit, but we do have, hopefully you might be able to see, we've got all these sort of little squares and rectangles just at the top, just there. I'm seeing that's potentially going to be a problem, because when you bring those two fuselage halves together, you want to be sort of sanding and filling that join line, but because you've got so much of this sort of detail just here, which will be at the top, you're potentially going to sort of sand some of that away, and it's going to be a little bit hard to rescribe that, so just bear that in mind. Flip it over, we do have bits of detail inside the cockpit area, a little bit more on this side. As you can see, looking pretty nice, crisp, well detailed bits going on just there. Flip it over again, we have the cockpit tub, which hopefully you can see, you know, we've got some really nice sort of dials and buttons and all sorts going on just inside there, a bit of radio equipment as well, really well, nicely detailed. We have our engine exhausts are actually built onto the engine cowl, which is a little bit different and interesting, right? Maybe you might want to drill some holes in there, but you know, still looking quite cool. We have our wheels, we have some other bits of MGs and stuff, loads and loads of detail in there. Moving along, we have our canopies, right? And what we have here is, hopefully you can see, absolutely gorgeous crystal clear canopies with bits of recessed rivets and detail going on in and around there. But if I just lift it up to the light, I'm really not seeing anything nasty going on with it. It's really nice and shiny. Probably not even have to sort of polish it up or anything, and really get away with it as it is. So that's a nice little bonus with that. We then have some more sort of surface detail to show you just here, which here we do have, you know, again, the recessed panel lines and recessed rivets and all sorts of panel line detail, right? Really good surface detail for the bottom part as well. Loads more surface detail, as you can see, looking really good. Flip it over, we do have some rib work, shall we say, inside the rear wells just there. Nothing major, but at least there is something in there. And there's two of them sprues, and they're basically the same, so I won't sort of bore you with showing the same stuff. Then we have we have some of these sort of poly caps as well. I'm not sure what they are for yet, but we'll check the instructions out. Then we have two sprues here with all sorts of little bits of detail. I think they are a duplicate sprue, which they are, so we can put one of them away. So we have our wheels just in there. The flash side of things, even though it's an old kit, I mean, we do see the join lines, and we will have to take care of them, but it's not like big amounts of flash, it's just a bit of a join line really, so still quite impressive. We do get two pilots because this is a duplicate sprue. I don't know if you can see, really good detail going on with that, eyes, mouth, nose, all sorts of gear and all the clothing really sort of showing that off quite nicely. So that's nice pilots to put in there. Propellers, what else we've got on here, all sorts of bits. But if I flip this over, yes, there are some ejector pin marks which are not in, shall we say, the best of places. You might be able to see there's one, there's another one just there, right, and that's inside the wheel well doors. You know, and there's a lot of detail around it, so it might be a bit tricky to get rid of them, but they are quite light. You might be able to get away with them depending on how you want to go about it. But looking actually really good, really sort of impressive. And the cool thing is as well, they haven't reboxed the hell out of this, you know. I mean, the box art you see on this was the same box art they released in 1997 and still releasing to this day. We do have the decals. Again, I'm not a massive fan of Tamiya decals or Tamiya decals, right, because they normally are a bit thicker. You normally have to come in with stuff like the Mr. Mark range, sorry, the Mr. what is it again? This stuff just here, if I just zoom you out a little bit, the Mr. Mark Softer and Mr. Mark Setter, you know, these are like the stronger solutions. I don't normally use this on a lot of stuff, only when it sort of really needs it, and I do find you kind of need to use those kind of solutions for Tamiya decals. And as you can see, you know, all sorts of good stuff going on here, nicely in registry, you know, looking good. The small print, well, there's not really much small print. Decaled seat belts, not my cup of tea. I'd rather make my own if I had a choice. We do have some instrument display panel, some like dials and stuff going on here for the cockpit area, so that's kind of cool. You might be able to use some of them just to kind of get your dials looking like dials and all the detail inside there at least, so that's quite nice. Then we move on to some instructions. First you get this kind of little tip, tech tips, right, and then we do have, before we look at the instructions, we do have this that folds out, right, and we have sort of our markings and how the camo pattern goes and all that kind of stuff, so it sort of shows you that. And then we do have our decal placements as well, which kind of shows you the pattern a bit more as well, what colors to use, and we've got both sides just going on there also. Then the instructions, again, I'm not the biggest fan of their fold out. I'd rather have a booklet, but still we do have, you know, normal, let's bring you in a little bit closer, we do have, you know, normal kind of black and white standard quality paper, bit of a description of the aircraft itself. And so it gets us starting off with our pilot and, you know, how to paint him and whatnot. So it goes into nice detail there, bringing the whole sort of cockpit area together, bringing that big brick of metal to weigh the front down. And it shows you, you know, just get you there nice and clearly with the instructions and how to bring it all together and build it. And if we sort of fold across here, you know, two fuselage halves coming together, two wing sections coming together, building our engine cowl area as well. And then we've got all sorts of things like flaps and ailerons. Looks like you can have them in different positions as well, so that's a nice little touch. Moving along just here, then we have got sort of like our 30mm cannons, adding them, wheels and landing gear, propellers, you know, pretty sort of simple actually. I mean, not really much to sort of write home about. I mean, we do have these antennas that go on the front. They're going to be one of these things that, you know, you want to leave till the last, and you want to be sort of careful with kind of moving it about, because those things are probably going to break pretty easily. But apart from that, not bad. Oh, and we've got some more, looks like another set of markings just here as well in the actual instructions, which is rather cool. So looks like we've got about 2, maybe 3 different markings to choose from. So all in all, I've got to say, I mean, it is quite impressive that it's from 1997. You know, I mean, this could pass for a modern day kit still. I'm not sure how it builds, but definitely looks like a big thumbs up here at Genesis Models, and definitely worth the money, and should build into a nice kit with loads of nice surface detail on there. The only real thing I found as a problem was, you know, because it's from 1997, You do tend to find those older kits do have the ejector pin marks on things like wheel well doors and those kind of areas, but you know, a bit of time and effort put into that and you can sort of get rid of them. But they're not like massive and in your face, so you could get away with them if you didn't want to tackle them. But other than that, definitely a good kit, and I hope you've enjoyed this in-box review. So until next time, as always, my name is Bob Warden, this is Genesis Models, and I'll catch you in the next video.